Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. There's something strange about marriage. You stop noticing when love turns into habit. You wake up one morning, and the person sleeping beside you feels more like a roommate wearing your wife's face. That's how it had become between me and Chloe. We've been married 6 years. I worked as a senior mechanic at a local auto garage in Denver. Decent pay, long hours, nothing fancy but honest. I love my work. The smell of oil, the hum of engines, the satisfaction of fixing something broken. It grounded me. Chloe, though, hated it. She came from a different world. Her job in marketing had her constantly surrounded by people in tailored suits, rooftop dinners, and company cocktails. I used to admire her ambition, until it started turning into arrogance. "Lucas, you smell like the shop again," she'd say, wrinkling her nose when I came home. "Can you at least shower before hugging me?" At first, I laughed it off. But lately, her words carried a sharper edge, like she wasn't joking anymore. That Friday started like any other. Coffee, toast, and her scrolling through her phone before even saying good morning. I was sitting at the table, reading a news article on my cracked phone screen, when she suddenly said, "Big event tonight. Company celebration. I'll be late. Want to pick you up after?" I asked, hoping maybe, just maybe, we could have dinner afterward. She let out a soft laugh. "Oh, Lucas, it's a professional thing. You'd be bored. Plus," she looked down at my work boots and smiled faintly, "it's more of a black tie environment." I stared at her. "So what? I don't belong there." "Don't twist my words," she said, standing up. "I just don't want you to feel uncomfortable. You know how these people are, judgmental." The irony hit me hard. She was describing herself. By evening, she transformed our living room into a runway. Makeup laid out, dresses scattered over the couch, perfume fogging the air. I leaned against the kitchen counter, just watching. Not with admiration anymore, but something else. Something hollow. She didn't see me as her partner anymore. She saw me as background noise. And yet, there was still this part of me that clung to the memory of the woman I'd fallen in love with. The one who used to bring lunch to my shop, laugh at my dirty hands, and say, "You make hard work look good." That woman was gone. Then came the moment that made the air leave my lungs. She slipped into a shimmering dress, one that left little to the imagination, and turned toward the mirror with that same self-admiring smile I once adored. As she reached for her purse, I caught a glimpse of something that told me this wasn't just a party. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. "Where's your ring?" I asked quietly. She looked down at her hand like she'd forgotten it existed. "Oh, must have left it upstairs." "You've been doing that a lot lately," I said, voice flat. Her tone turned defensive. "Don't start, Lucas. It's just jewelry." I want to believe her. God, I really did. But there was a look in her eyes, the kind of restless spark that appears when someone's already halfway out the door. Then her phone buzzed. She picked it up, smiled, a soft, private smile, and said, "I gotta run." A car horn blared outside. She gave herself one last look in the mirror and turned to me. "Don't wait up," she said. "And please, try not to wear those shoes when I'm around. They make you look desperate." Before I could say a word, she was gone. I stood there in the silence she left behind, staring at the door. The shoes she mocked were the ones I wore when I worked double shifts to pay for her master's degree. And now, they were the ones I'd be wearing the night I finally found out the truth. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, though I was, but because something inside me had gone eerily quiet. When you love someone long enough, betrayal doesn't explode like thunder. It seeps in slow, drop by drop, until you realize your entire heart's flooded. Around midnight, I got a text from Marcus, my oldest friend. He worked in IT at the same company as Chloe. "Marcus, you awake, man?" "Mia, what's up?" "Marcus, I don't want to be that guy, but your wife wasn't at any official company event tonight. The firm didn't host anything." "Me, you sure?" "Marcus, positive." I checked the internal calendar myself. For a full minute, I just stared at the message. I didn't reply. My body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I'd given her every reason to trust me, and she'd taken that trust like it was pocket change. Still, I needed to know. Chloe came home around 2:30 a.m., heels in her hand, hair slightly undone. She didn't notice me sitting in the dark corner of the living room. Rough night. I asked, my voice calm, too calm. She froze for half a second, then forced a laugh. Lucas, you scared me. What are you doing up? Waiting for my wife, I said simply. She slipped past me, avoiding eye contact, heading straight for the bedroom. It was just a long night, okay? Everyone from the office was there. I told you I'd be late. Funny, I said, leaning back. Marcus said the company didn't have an event tonight. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. Her back stiffened. Marcus should mind his own business. I stood up slowly. So, who hosted this party then? Someone from work? Or someone else? She turned, her tone turning defensive, sharp. Are you seriously interrogating me? You fix cars all day, Lucas. You wouldn't understand how professional events work. That was her mistake. Not the lie itself, but the way she said it. That superiority. That sneer. It wasn't guilt I saw in her eyes. It was annoyance. She didn't care that she'd hurt me. She just hated that she'd been caught. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just nodded, walked past her, and went to bed. She whispered something like, "You're overreacting," but I didn't answer. And that night, as she slept soundly beside me, I opened my phone, opened our joint email, and started digging. She must have thought I was too simple to ever check. I found everything in less than an hour. Hotel receipts, late-night Uber rides, messages to someone saved as M. The first text hit like a punch. Can't wait to see you tonight. He's clueless as ever. The rest were worse. Not explicit, but intimate enough that I could hear her tone in every line. Dinner reservations. Photos of wine glasses clinking. Promises of soon. The man was Miles, her new marketing consultant. Handsome, younger, drove a silver BMW. I remembered her mentioning him once, the way she said his name a little too smoothly. It all made sense now. By morning, I had a plan. Not one born from rage, but from clarity. If she thought I was some unpolished, small-town fool, I was going to show her just how sharp a quiet man can be. First thing I did was call Marcus. "Hey," I said, voice steady. "You said you work in IT, right?" "Yeah." "What?" "I need a small favor." Discreet. He hesitated, but when I explained everything, he sighed. "You don't deserve this, man. I'll help you. Just don't do anything stupid." "Oh, don't worry," I said. "I won't raise a hand. I'll just make sure she looks in the mirror and sees exactly who she really is." For the next 2 days, I acted normal. I made her coffee, packed her lunch, even kissed her cheek before work. She seemed relieved that I'd moved on, but behind the calm, I was setting things in motion. Marcus helped me forward a few anonymous emails to her firm. Nothing harsh, just truth, details of her meetings, the receipts, and the timestamps. Enough for HR to start asking questions. Then, I printed copies of the hotel receipts and slipped them into an envelope. I placed it neatly on her vanity, under her favorite perfume. That Saturday morning, Chloe woke up groggy and reached for her usual cup of coffee, the one I always brought her in bed. But instead, she found a tray holding the envelope and a handwritten note. "This morning's special blend, truth. Sip carefully." I waited in the kitchen, the sound of paper rustling from upstairs. Then came the heavy footsteps. "Lucas," she shouted, her voice trembling. "What is this?" I looked up from my cup. "Evidence," I said quietly. "Proof that you traded loyalty for luxury." She went pale. "You're ruining my life." "No," I interrupted, standing slowly. "You did that yourself. I'm just serving the receipt." She tried to reach for my arm, tears forming. "I made a mistake, okay? He meant nothing." I shook my head. "That's the thing, Chloe. You didn't cheat because you fell in love. You cheated because you fell out of respect." For the first time, she had no comeback. Then her phone buzzed. I gestured to it. "You might want to check that." She picked it up and froze. A text from her boss. "Chloe, HR needs to speak with you immediately regarding last week's conduct." Her face drained of color. She looked at me in disbelief. "You told them?" I smiled faintly. I didn't have to tell anyone anything. The truth just found its way to the right inbox. She sank into a chair, speechless. For once, I didn't feel small or embarrassed. I felt free. And for the first time in years, I slipped on my scuffed old shoes, the ones she mocked, and walked out the door without looking back. When I walked out that morning, I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even glance back at the house that once felt like a home. There's a kind of quiet that comes when a man stops begging to be respected. The city air felt sharper that morning. Cold, but clean. I went to the garage, clocked in early, and buried myself in work. For hours, I tuned engines, changed oil, and let the hum of machinery drown out the ache in my chest. But even as I tightened bolts and wiped my hands on the same rag I'd used for years, my mind replayed Chloe's face when she read that HR message. The shock, the panic, the disbelief that her perfect little double life had started to collapse. Marcus texted me around noon. Marcus, it's all over the office. She's in a meeting with the higher-ups. Miles too. Me, both of them. Marcus, yeah. Guess the hotel invoices got noticed. Someone leaked them. Someone. He didn't ask, and I didn't explain. I wasn't trying to destroy her. I was just returning the favor. She'd humiliated me quietly for years. I wanted her to feel that same sting, the one that doesn't fade overnight. When I came home that evening, the house looked like it had been caught in a storm. Clothes scattered, drawers half open, and her mascara-stained tissues on the counter. Chloe was sitting on the edge of the couch, still in her work clothes, eyes red and puffy. She looked up when I walked in. They suspended me, she said hoarsely. Until the investigation is done. I nodded. I figured. Her voice cracked. Miles denied everything. Said I made it up. That I was obsessed with him. Now everyone thinks I'm some pathetic, desperate woman. She broke down crying, but the tears didn't hit me the way they used to. Because I'd cried that way once too, silently, when I realized my wife would rather lie to me than look me in the eye. Lucas, she whispered, standing up. Please. You can't just stand there. Say something. Yell at me, curse at me, throw something. I shook my head. That's what you'd expect, isn't it? But I'm done giving you the reaction you feed on. Her breath hitched. Feed on? What are you talking about? I took a step closer. You like making me feel small. It made you feel powerful. Every jab about my job, every insult about my shoes, it wasn't about me. It was about you. You needed someone to look down on so you could feel tall. She looked like she wanted to argue, but the words never came. I turned toward the stairs. Where are you going? She asked, panicking. To pack, I said. You've got the house, the car, the fancy clothes. You can keep them all. But you won't have me standing in the corner anymore pretending not to see who you really are. Lucas, you can't just leave. I can, I said, stopping halfway up the stairs. And I will. Because I finally remembered what self-respect feels like. That night, I stayed at Marcus's place. He didn't say much, just handed me a beer and turned on the game. After a while, he said quietly, You did what most men are too afraid to do. You stopped being their doormat. I didn't answer. I wasn't proud. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just tired. The next few days passed slowly. Chloe called, texted, emailed. Every message a mix of apology and desperation. Lucas, please, I can fix this. You don't understand how much I regret it. I need you. But the truth was, she didn't regret cheating. She regretted losing control. I didn't reply. A week later, I went back home one last time. Not to reconcile, but to close the chapter. When I walked in, she was sitting at the table, staring at her phone. She looked smaller. Not physically, but in spirit. The confidence that once filled every room she entered had vanished. Lucas, she said softly. I lost my job. They let me go. I took a seat across from her, silent. I know I ruined everything, she continued. I was selfish, cruel. I wanted people to see me as someone I wasn't. And you, she looked up, tears spilling again. You were the only real thing in my life. And I treated you like a stain. Her voice broke at that word. Stain. The same word she'd once used when she saw grease on my hands. I don't expect forgiveness, she whispered. I just want you to know I'm sorry. For the first time, I saw genuine remorse. Not panic, not pride, just quiet, exhausted guilt. I sighed, leaning back. You know what's strange, Chloe? I don't hate you. She looked up, surprised. I used to think revenge meant making you suffer, I said. But it doesn't. It's walking away without carrying the weight of your choices anymore. Her lips trembled. So this is goodbye. I nodded. For me, yes. For you, it's time to live with the version of yourself you try to hide behind designer clothes. I stood up, walked to the door, and paused. She whispered, You still love me, don't you? I didn't turn around. Love isn't enough when respect is dead. Outside, the sky was turning gold. The world looked the same, but I didn't. I felt lighter. Not because she was gone, but because I finally let go of trying to fix someone who didn't want to be saved. Marcus was waiting in his truck. "All done?" he asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. "All done." He nodded. "Where to?" I looked out toward the open road. "Anywhere new. Maybe somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can start over, without pretending." As the truck rolled away, I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The house, that cage of false smiles and polished lies, grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes revenge isn't fire or fury. It's peace. Real, unshakable peace. 6 months passed. You'd be surprised how time stretches when you stop living for someone else's approval. My mornings no longer started with silence or tension. They began with sunlight cutting through blinds, a mug of coffee I brewed just the way I liked, and the faint hum of peace I'd forgotten existed. I moved to a small town outside Boulder, started working at a private auto restoration shop. The place smelled like old leather and engine oil, the kind of scent that never leaves your skin but somehow makes you proud of who you are. The owner, a retired race driver named Tom, took me under his wing. "You've got hands that understand machines," he told me one afternoon. "Most guys only fix parts. You fix stories." That line stuck with me, because that's exactly what I was doing, fixing my own story, one day at a time. Chloe's name still popped up sometimes, usually through mutual friends or coworkers who hadn't realized we'd separated. She'd lost her job permanently. Miles had transferred to another city, cutting all ties. And her social circle, the one she'd once bragged about, vanished the moment her status did. I never gloated. Not once. Because the real punishment wasn't what I did to her. It was what she did to herself. When you build your worth on how others see you, it all crumbles the second no one's looking. One Sunday morning, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written in her handwriting. Neat, careful, and trembling. "Lucas, you probably won't read this, but I need to say it anyway. I've spent every day since you left realizing how much of myself I traded away trying to impress people who didn't matter. I lost the one person who did. I hope you're happy. I hope you forgive me someday, even if it's from a distance." I read it once, folded it neatly, and set it aside. Forgiveness. It wasn't about letting her back in. It was about letting the bitterness leave me. And in that moment, I realized I had already forgiven her. Not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Weeks later, I met someone new. Her name was Maya, a photographer who came into the shop to get her old Jeep restored. She was different, quiet but confident, kind without trying too hard. She noticed the small things, like how I wiped my hands before shaking hers, or how I paused a second longer before answering questions about my past. One afternoon, as she waited for her car, she looked at me and said, "You've got this calm around you like someone who's been through a storm but learned how to enjoy the silence after." I smiled. Maybe that's exactly it. For the first time in years, someone saw me, not as a project to fix or a role to fill, but simply as a man who had survived something and grown from it. One evening, I stood by the shop's open bay door, watching the sunset spill across the mountains. The same scuffed shoes Chloe once mocked were still on my feet. Only now, they felt like a badge of endurance. I wasn't the broken husband anymore. I was the man who rebuilt his life from the ashes of someone else's pride. And as the light faded, I whispered quietly to myself, I made it through. Not in anger, not in revenge, just truth.